Every relationship has its moments, those quiet whispers of doubt that pass in the night. But what happens when trust is shattered beyond repair? When love turns to suspicion, and suspicion becomes betrayal? Tonight, we bring you the story of David and Emily, a couple who seem to have it all. But when temptation knocks at the door, will their love survive? David was a man who thought he had everything: a beautiful wife, a steady job, a home that was everything he had dreamed of. Emily, his wife, was the woman he had spent 10 years with. They had built a life together, strong, steady, and seemingly unbreakable. But things were never as perfect as they seemed. For the last few weeks, Emily had been distant, her phone always glued to her side, her eyes lingering on the screen with a nervous energy David couldn't quite place. It wasn't that he hadn't noticed. He had. He had seen the changes, the little things that seemed off. Late nights, sudden business trips, the way she would go quiet whenever he asked about her day. It wasn't until that night, the night when David came home early, that everything started to fall apart. David walks through the door of his house, a usual calm evening turning into something different tonight. He'd noticed Emily's behavior changing, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Tonight, something felt off. He walks into the kitchen and hears the faint sound of her typing on her phone. It was the first time in a long while that Emily hadn't greeted him with a kiss. "Hey, Em," he says, casually, trying to keep the tension from creeping into his voice. "Hmm?" She looks up, startled. "Oh, hey. Didn't hear you come in." She quickly locks her phone screen, but David catches the faintest flicker of an unknown number on the screen. He feels a knot tighten in his stomach, but doesn't say anything. The atmosphere between them feels cold, despite the warmth of the kitchen. "How was your day?" he asks, his voice faltering just a bit as the doubt lingers at the back of his mind. Emily looks away for a moment, and David watches as she tries to come up with something to say. "Busy," she mutters. "Just work stuff." But David isn't convinced. Something in her eyes, something that doesn't belong, tells him there's more to the story. Later that night, David goes to bed, but sleep doesn't come easy. His mind is racing, thoughts of Emily's odd behavior tormenting him. He lies awake, staring at the ceiling. His gut tells him that something is happening, something that shouldn't be. Around 3 a.m., David hears the faint sound of Emily's phone buzzing on the nightstand. He doesn't think. His curiosity takes over. Slowly, he reaches over, his fingers brushing against her phone. The screen lights up, revealing a message. The words hit him like a punch in the stomach. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I miss you." David freezes, his heart pounding in his chest. The message isn't from a colleague. It's not from a friend. It's from someone else. He sits up slowly, the weight of the moment sinking in. The betrayal is as real as the air he breathes. He stares at the screen, unable to process what he's seeing. The next morning, David decides it's time to confront Emily. As she prepares breakfast, acting as if nothing happened, David's mind is made up. He can't pretend anymore. He's been living a lie. He walks up to her, his voice steady, but full of pain. "Who is he?" Emily freezes, her hand trembling as she sets the plate down. For a brief moment, she doesn't say anything. Then, her gaze shifts away, her eyes avoiding his. "David," she starts, her voice weak, like she's trying to hold on to some part of the story she's built. "Who is he, Emily?" he demands, again, his voice rising. Emily looks at him, a cold smile creeping onto her face. "You always were so blind, David. You never saw it coming, did you?" David's chest tightens. The words she says hit him harder than anything he could have prepared for. I thought you loved me." Her eyes flicker, but there's no remorse. "I thought I did too," she whispers, the weight of her admission hanging in the air. David steps back, his mind swirling. He never thought he would be here, facing the woman he loved, the woman he thought was his forever. He'd built his world around her, but now it was all crumbling. For a long moment, neither of them speaks. The silence between them is deafening, filled only by the sound of the ticking clock in the background. Finally, David turns away. "I guess it's over then." Emily doesn't stop him. She doesn't say a word. She just watches him walk away, knowing deep down that there's no going back from this. Sometimes, it's the smallest things that reveal the truth. A glance, a message, a moment of silence. Trust once broken can never be fully repaired. For David and Emily, this was the moment their lives changed forever. And sometimes, in the face of betrayal, there's no longer a reason to stay.